What's the point of the World Court if it can't stop Israel killing Palestinians? South Africa asked the International Court of Justice for a ceasefire. Instead, judges ordered Israel to take all measures not to commit genocide. But even if the court had told Israel to end its war, it wouldn't have the power to enforce it. I want to know what happens next, so I'm going to call Diana Buttu. 20 years ago, she took Israel to the World Court and won. Diana is a Palestinian lawyer, and she was a member of the team that worked on the successful case against Israel's separation wall in the occupied West Bank.
Hi, Sahar.
Hi, Diana. Israel's hinted very strongly that it wouldn't comply with a verdict of the ICJ. So what's the point of this case?
To show that Israel's a rogue state. You know, when you have a country that comes forward and says, the law doesn't apply to me, it means you're a rogue state. Look, I want to put it in context. During the South African apartheid era, there were a number of cases that were brought before the ICJ against the apartheid regime. And the apartheid regime took the exact same position. What brought South Africa's apartheid regime to an end was not just the work that was done on the state level. It was primarily the work that was done on the grassroots level.
When South Africa brought this case to the World Court, it said Israel had breached the 1948 Genocide Convention in its attacks on Gaza. That law exists thanks to one person, a Holocaust survivor named Raphael Lemkin. He was a Polish-Jewish lawyer who fled the Nazis and then campaigned to make genocide a crime at the UN. That law is now more than 75 years old. And do you know how many countries have been found guilty of genocide at the ICJ? 0. In 2007, judges ruled that Serbia failed to prevent a genocide, and there are also ongoing cases against Myanmar and Russia. But other courts, apart from the ICJ, have handed out genocide convictions.
Law is just a tool. It doesn't replace politics. What it does is it nudges politics and politicians, and it nudges activism. In this case, it's not just a nudge, it's a big thrust. You know, Sahar, I think that one element of this that is lost is that I was part of the legal team that worked on the 2004 advisory opinion regarding the wall. But what was interesting in that decision was that the court came out and said that there is a responsibility for third states to act. And Palestinians waited. And sure enough, 1 year to the day of the release of the ICJ decision was when the BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement, was launched. And so in that instance, the ICJ provided the impetus for the largest grassroots movement when it comes to Palestinian freedom. And so too, this ICJ decision is going to serve as the impetus for an even greater, more expanded push to hold Israel accountable.
This isn't the end of the case against Israel at the World Court. The January ruling was only an interim decision. It wasn't a verdict on whether Israel is committing genocide. That could take years. And while they do that, Israel will continue killing Palestinians, but possibly with the support of fewer and fewer countries.
As the South African apartheid regime was falling, South Africa's allies, such as the United States and the UK, clung very closely and began to hold on even tighter to the apartheid regime. I expect that we're going to see that in the case of Israel as well, because they see that this regime is finally falling.